Hey guys, Gonzo here. I'm going to do a little video here on ice fishing jigs and what I use and what I think is the best, but this is all my own opinion now. Everybody else might have their own favorites, but listen to what I have to say and I think I can give you some good pointers. You know, if you're not sure about this or sure about that, you know, give this a shot. I mean, I've tried many different things. I've been ice fishing for roughly 35 years now, and ice fishing is just, it's came a long ways from before. So I want to show you all my pan fishing jigs, my setups, my depth finders, my walleye rapalas, and what colors they are and why I prefer them. So first of all, I'm going to give you a close-up on everything, and then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try and explain one thing at a time. So if you like ice fishing, I really think that you're going to enjoy this video. So I'll try and keep it as short as I can. And I got two shout outs I want to give out right away. Merriman Outdoors, Corey does a phenomenal job recording underwater video out on Lake Superior. I think he's up by Munising on the bay up there and stuff. So check out Merriman Outdoors. I'll put him in my description. And then another new channel I found is Fish Online. These guys are fishing over in Ontario and stuff, and they do a phenomenal job. And I asked some questions, and they're going to make some videos, and I'll explain some of the stuff that they do and some of the rigs that they do, which I really think will help us all out. So anyways, let me give you guys a shot of everything here. Top up there, we got Rapala jigs. Over here I got a bunch of different treble hooks and sizes. Right there I got rubber baits. There's some bobbers, slip bobbers, depth finders, which everybody should have. Here's smaller Rapala jigs. There's my connectors, a swivel, and then I'm not sure what the other thing is called, but the other thing is what you really want. Then I got all these glow jigs, neon glow jigs. They're all hand painted. They're more expensive, but they're really well worth it. And then I got some glow spoons there. You'll see that's what the back of a glow spoon looks like. Come on, right there. That's the part that glows, and here's the front part of them. This is just some of my jigs. I got way too many to put them all up there. And those are all real cheap jigs. That's just a bunch of junk, but they work real well because that's what I grew up using. And there's a spring bobber, a cheaper type of spring bobber. I got better ones on my poles, but anyways, let me sit down and get started here and explain each and individual one. I'm going to start over here with my hooks. If you look at the first treble hook, right there, that smallest one is actually a size 14. Then they go 12, 10, 8, and 6 and 4. The smaller, the 14 and 12, I use for perch and crappies when I'm using minnows, if I got them set up on a tip up. If I'm trying to mark fish and find out where they're at, and then I go over there and I'll jig for them. So that's the treble hooks that I use. And the rest of this stuff, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna sit down and hopefully this video turns out all right. I like to use chartreuse colors for walleyes. This right here is a 2 3/4 inch. This is called a Moonshine shiver minnow. It doesn't have the front hook like a jigging rapala does, but they're phenomenal. I like the Firetiger. It's got a bigger treble hook here, and these smaller treble hooks that I got, if the walleyes are just bumping it and stuff, I like you can cut this hook off. You need to snip it and put a new one on, because the way that they're made, they don't have the little round thing that goes on there. You can put them on there, but I wouldn't suggest it, you know, or I would, to put the silver thing on there and change your hook, because this treble hook on these is pretty big. This is a 2 3/4 inch right here. This is what I prefer early in the year for walleyes. And then I got the chartreuse Firetiger orange. I really enjoy that blue color. That blue color works well too, but they all work well. And then these bigger ones, these are 1 ounce. These are 3 1/4 inch. The 2 3/4 inch, they're only a half of an ounce. But these bigger ones work better in the springtime. The walleyes are going to start feeding really heavy here soon. You know, they got the eggs in them and stuff, and they go after bigger baits. You know, why? I don't know, but they do. This chartreuse green, This and the green and the just the pure orange is all I used growing up as a kid. But like I said, ice fishing's came a long ways. You know, great baits. I buy most of my stuff online, on eBay. There's some other fish shops or locally. We'll get in. Here's jigging wraps now. You know, these jigging wraps. There's a green one for you, little chartreuse green. Here's a speckled trout. Here's a little tiny 2¼ inch chartreuse. It's not chartreuse actually, it's just a Firetiger. So any kind of jigging rapala, if you can get it, the brighter the better. I mean, I've caught them on just regular silver and this regular gold color here, but they're darker. And I know that that's more or less what a minnow looks like, but when I fish these with my jig pole, I'll put 2 holes about 3 feet apart, and I'll have like a chartreuse, maybe a green one on one, and then maybe a chartreuse orange on the other one, and I'll find out what color they're biting on. You know, I just take turns jigging them, and then I let them sit there for 3-4 seconds, and then I just jig them a little bit. And once the fish start hitting, I mean, you might be 3 feet apart, but they might be just nailing the heck out of the green one today. And I've got plenty of green ones in my box here, so then I just switch to 2 green ones, and then I'll have a tip up out with the regular minnow on one. And say if they're not really hitting the rapalas because they might be moving too quick and the fish aren't that active, I'll hook up with a bobber and I'll put like a little fathead on about 2 inches long and fish at 6-8 inches off the bottom, because I'm normally fishing in anywhere from 4 to 7 feet of water. And I just let the minnow just sit there and work itself, because a lot of times you'll get a tip up, you'll get a flag up, and the fish might run 2 or 3 feet and they just drop your minnow. This way, if you're fishing and you're ready for them with the jig pole, you know, your bobber goes down, it goes down 6 inches, set the hook and go. And I'll also use this bigger glow spoon, and I'll just tip it right here. I'll just use a minnow head on there. You know, I guess it doesn't really matter what color. This is kind of orange on one side with an eye, and then it's chartreuse green on the other side with some speckles and stuff. This I don't use a bobber on. I just sit there and jig it, and once you feel the fish grab it, set the darn hook. Depth finders. You know, it doesn't matter what color you got, but everybody should have a depth finder, especially if you're in deeper water. You want to get your bait down by the bottom, you know, if you're in 18 feet, because if you're putting your line down there and you just got a little tiny jig on, like one of these glow jigs, it'll take forever to get down there. You know, and to find the bottom, you might think you're on the bottom and you're actually 2 or 3 feet off, which might not hurt because the fish might be up that far. But I use my depth finder for tip ups. You know, I can get my I can just find my bait or the bottom in my set. Like for pike, if I'm in 12 feet of water, I'll come up 5 feet. I always come up. Pike cruise the bottom, their eyes are on top of their head, they're looking up, and pike are very aggressive fish, so they're willing to swim up like that. A walleye, more or less, they like to cruise the bottom, and they might not come up more than a foot off the bottom. But there's times I've caught walleyes 5 feet off the bottom, so don't let me tell you that they don't go up that far. My connectors here, I used to use nothing but a swivel, and that swivel, after you're jigging and jigging and jigging for a while and that rapala is going around and around and around, it twists your line up. And when your line gets slack and it curls. And you don't want those curls because that'll weaken your line. So I had another guy tell me about these little clips. I forget what they're called, the name of them though. But you can get them at Walmart, you can get them at Dunham's and stuff. And I got myself a bunch of them. And when you tie your line on there, it never twists on you. You can sit there and jig for 4 hours and you get done and you can put slack in your line and it doesn't twist on you. So I highly recommend, if you're going to use jigging rapalas, to get these little clips. They're just about like the bottom side of the size of the swivel here. They just don't have the ball bearing on it. We'll get to panfish now. Rubber baits. I really like the rubber baits. I've just came into them the last 2-3 years. I'm not huge into pan fishing, but when the panfish are really biting heavy and you don't want to sit there and put a wax worm on or a mousy or a spike or a wiggler or anything, I bought a bunch of these from Mackie Plastics. I got that from from one of my buddies that I'm on Facebook with in a channel. His name's Nate. Two Guys Fishing. Anyway, so I got all kinds of little tubes full of these, and I got a bunch of packages in one of my boxes downstairs. So when the fish are biting, you don't have time to put the wigglers or the waxies on, or you just want to get that line back down there and catch fish, plastics are the way to go. Now, if the fish are being stubborn and they're not biting real good, you know, that's a good time to just use the wax worm, the wiggler, the spike, and like I said, these ones right here, I got all kinds of cheap jigs. You can buy these things, they're like, get them anywhere from 25 cents to 50 cents, or you can buy a box of them and get a box of 20 for maybe $5. If you look in the discount bins at the stores and stuff, they're cheap, but that's all I used to use as a kid, you know, and I've caught plenty of fish on them. They're great. But again, ice fishing has came so far the past 20 years that it's phenomenal. And these glow spoons, like I said over here, I got plenty of different colored ones, but then you got the back of it. Well, this one's silver, but the rest of these right here, they got this white coating on the back, and it really glows. And what you want to do is, they sell a box for $20, and you put your spoon inside there, and you push a button, and you hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, and the light is on in there the whole time, and your spoon will glow for a long time. I don't want to say like 2 hours, but it'll glow for a long time, and you can use it for 15-20 minutes, catch some fish, put it back in that box. But I wouldn't recommend wasting $20 like that. You could take yourself a flashlight, as I got here, and this flashlight's pretty bright, and take your spoon, the back side of it, and hold it right over that for 5 to 10 seconds. Or if it's bright outside, you can just set these spoons on top, or the jigs on top of your minnow bucket, and then you take it and you hook it on. I mean, I can tell it's, I don't know if you can see that it's glowing there now or not, but I could see it was at first. It's hard to see in the light, but if it was dark and you're sitting inside your shack, you can really see these things glow great. I mean, I can still tell it's glowing. But and I got all these little jigs here, and they're hand painted. I mean, they got little eyes and stripes on them. Phenomenal. All these little neon glow jigs here, I bought 14 of them online from this guy. They were $12, and I got them for $12 and then $2 shipping. He was out of Minnesota, I think, is where he was from. I'd have to look on my eBay channel. But these, all I do is I tip them with a wax worm or a mousey when I'm fishing panfish, perch and stuff. Now, like when I go to Lake Ogibic, these little things, the glow jigs, what I use is a wiggler. I don't know if a lot of you guys have wigglers around your area and stuff, but you put the wiggler, you hook it through the top one time, you flip it around, and then you come up through the bottom with the hook again, and it looks like the wiggler's sitting there, and it'll keep it alive, and it sits there and moves like this. And Lake Ogibic's like one big mud flat, and there's wigglers, the whole bottom's covered. They come out of that mud and they start swimming around, and when the perch are biting, you can catch many perch over a pound out there. And I got a perch tournament. It's called the Hogathon. The Maple Ridge Motel puts it on every year. The first place is $1,000, second place is $500, and it goes on down from there. And then they got a prize for the biggest sucker, they got a prize for the biggest walleye, a prize for the biggest walleye also. That's the last weekend of walleye season. So if you got some free time and you want to head up, it's pre-fishing tournaments March 13th, and the fishing tournament is March 14th. It's $35 entry fee, gives you a chance to win some door prizes and stuff. You get a good meal. Saturday night they announce all the winners and stuff, and hopefully they'll be announcing my name. And that's about it. I mean, if you got any questions about these jigs, a few different people wanted me to do videos on them. That's why I'm sharing them. I've seen plenty of other people do like summer tackle boxes and stuff, so I thought I'd share my ice fishing since Garrett Brader was one of them. He wants to get into ice fishing. And one other kid asked me. And then a few people asked me about summer fishing and if I'd share my tackle box and stuff. So this summer, if you're still interested in that, they'll bring out one of my tackle boxes and show you what I use. But again, Rapala jigs, 2.5 inch, 2 3/4 inch. The chartreuse, the Firetigers I really like. The bigger ones for springtime, you know, like I said, these 3.5 inchers. You know, a lot of sucker minnows you use are 4 inches, so these are just a little bit smaller than them, but they work great. Another thing, when I'm pan fishing, you know, if I'm not using a spring bobber on the tip of my rod, you know, you got your line comes up and it goes out here, and the fish, instead of pulling a bobber, you'll just see your spring bobber will just move a little bit. They make a lot of other spring bobbers a lot better than this, which I got on my other rods. But this was just, I bought them earlier this year. I needed a couple in a hurry, and that's all they had was some junk ones at Dunham's. But since then I picked up some nice ones. But for panfish, if I'm using a little jig like this, as before, and I never use spring bobbers, which a lot of people might not like, I never used to like them, I take a slip bobber like this. What you do is you take your tube, run your line through it, pull your line off, tie a knot, use your scissors, snip this, and you can move the knot up and down your line depending on how deep it is. And then you're going to want to run this little bead up your line underneath the knot. Then you run your bobber up your line. Then you tie your jig on there. And if you're in 18 feet of water and you got a real open face, you can just reel your fish right up. You get done, take your fish off, bait your hook again, drop it down the hole, and you can just let your line go and go and go until the knot hits the knot. From this will hit the top of the bead here, and it'll just sit on top of your bobber. The bead will sit on top of your bobber, and once a fish grabs it, that knot can't fit through the bobber, so your bobber goes down. And like I said, if you move fishing spots and you go somewhere where it's 12 feet deep then, and you want to come a foot off the bottom, then all you got to do is move your knot down 3-4 feet, your foot off the bottom, and you're fishing again. So I hope this helped you real quick. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask me, and get yourself, I'd highly recommend glow spoons. I'd highly recommend the glow jigs, the neon glow jigs. Rapalas I'd recommend for, I mean, there's so many different baits now. I know a lot of people use different things, but I'm a Rapala man. Moonshine, shiver, minnow, I've always been. I always will be. I mean, I'm sure I'll try other baits and stuff, but these are just some stuff that I prefer. So check it out. Tell me what you think, and we'll talk to you later. Check out those 2 channels I showed it. Peace. One more thing, fellas. If you're just getting started out for ice fishing like you, Garrett, you can get this right here. It comes with some jigs, a depth finder, some bobbers. It's just a cheap plastic pole with some line on it. It'll cost you $14, $14.99 I think it is. It's a good way to get started, and if you like ice fishing, then you can get into it and start spending money and go get more complicated from there. You get yourself some open faces, some small ones, you know, maybe ultralights, medium actions or something, but this is all I used as a kid and they work really well. So hope this helped you.